I think there were actually a few coronavirus patients, and I shook hands with everybody. You'll be pleased to know, and I can.
Hiya, so I thought I would do some serious talk regarding this pandemic and this whole situation here. If I've sent you this video, don't worry, I don't have anything against you or anything like that. I'm just here to explain how I feel about masks and why I feel that way. If you've been talking to me recently, you'll probably know that I've been sort of pushing that idea, and I thought I should probably explain why exactly that is, before I'm sort of seen as the complainer of the group. As you know, I'm not really the confrontational guy, but since it's in video format, it's a lot easier for me to explain and show you exactly what I'm talking about. I'll try to make this as short as possible, so please hear me out. Even before the lockdown, I was talking to some of my friends back in South Korea. It's quite a nice thing to do because you get two different perspectives on a single issue, and this time that issue was, of course, the virus. Basically, Korea was testing every single person who landed in their airports. They were tracking exactly who had the virus, and I mean, every single person was wearing an N95 mask, and even then, they were struggling, working hard to maintain things. So you can probably imagine me going, what? Like, why is the UK so chill about this? I mean, it was still too early at that point to really judge too much about anything, so I just sort of kept quiet. At the start of March, the UK had tested around 13,000, and I believe in Korea they had tested nearly 10 times that. But since the first infection, nearly 15 million people come into the country untested. And later on, the 3rd of March, you have good old Bojo literally telling people to go about their day as usual.
That for the vast majority of the people of this country, we should be going about our business as usual.
And then all that Bojo was emphasizing was washing your hands and singing happy birthday. I mean, the general idea that people had was, as long as you washed your hands, you're sweet. I was just there thinking that this was going to be a big mess. In case you aren't really convinced about masks yet, let me just give you this one really very recent example. A couple of weeks ago, there's been this infamous case where over 60 people have been infected from this Starbucks over a really short period of time. If you're in a coffee shop, you obviously have to take off your mask to drink your drink, right? And that was ultimately what allowed the virus to spread. The funny thing is that all the staff basically tested negative. And what do you know? They were the only people who had masks and gloves on the whole time. I mean, it even confirms that all the tables were separated 1 to 2 meters, right? But on the other hand, at the exact same time, the UK is telling you that you don't need to wear a mask if you're staff. I don't want to say, because you got these crazy cases where you have nearly 300 people at a sandwich factory test positive. I mean, and probably more, right? And it seems like they think you're immune to this if you're under 13. I mean, I don't think you need a 1,000 IQ to see that this is absolutely ridiculous, you know. In fact, one of the people infected in that Starbucks was a little kid. I mean, that kid simply used the bathroom, and apparently he got infected. This Starbucks case is only one of the many cases that really show that masks is such an obvious solution. I think the idea of masks in the UK really only became mainstream in July. I think by then I was really tempted to say, oh, I told you so, to all the people who told me elsewise back in February. And all that nonsense. But I reminded myself that people's lives are at stake, you know. By then the death toll was way over 40k, and it would probably not be nice for me to go around saying stuff like that. And that's when I started to mention the idea of masks in group chats and stuff like that. But then I was soon jokingly labeled, oh, you're ranting, oh, you're and I quote, a social distance germaphobe. If you're watching this, you probably know exactly who you are. I mean, I'm not trying to get at you or anything. I mean, I totally get you. You want the chat to stay positive. You don't want it to go down the spiral of a discussion. But, you know, it's a never-ending discussion, to be honest, because we can't really do anything. I know for a fact that it wasn't out of any bad intentions or anything. It's just a joke. I get it. But the reason I sort of didn't really appreciate it is because it really just devalues what I'm trying to say. And I was afraid that that response would grow into something where people would think that what I say is no more than some sort of, just a rant. I think back then I was trying to talk about how we should still wear a mask when we meet, how screwed the UK is, because, I mean, it really is. It was a bit upsetting to see that it seemed like I was the only person worried about this, and seeing how bad it can get. It's really all fun and games until someone in our group actually does get infected, and I'd really, really hate to see someone having to go through that. I mean, I don't even want to see anyone in our school to get positive. I mean, as much as I hate, the first years. I have a friend that I was talking to recently, and he's about to leave Korea in a week or two. It's heading back to New York, and it just felt pretty sad how no one in my immediate friend group, that this one guy on the other side of the world was one of the only people who I could talk to that completely understood my experience. So yeah, before I end, I just wanted to mention this bubble analogy. I mean, it's ridiculous. It seems to be believed that as long as you stay with the people in your quote-unquote bubble, that everything's gonna be okay. I mean, it's not. At first, everyone living in your house was a bubble. Now, if you're trying to treat a single workplace or like each school classroom as a bubble, yeah, that's not really gonna work. I mean, later the whole school is gonna be a single bubble, and then the entire town is gonna be a bubble. You know, it's not gonna work. I just hope that this video gave at least a bit of insight into why I'm so crazy on about masks. Because to me, it's only the logical thing, and there's so much evidence that backs it up. It's just that that evidence is, for some reason, just non-existent over here in the UK. I just want everyone to be safe, like, that's all. And just to my friends, if you are watching this, I just hope you don't, like, just brush off what I'm saying. Because I really am worried about how everything's gonna turn out and what's gonna happen. Going to parties and visiting other people, it's completely fine. Like everyone wants to do that, but it sort of feels like everyone thinks the whole thing's over when it's really not, you know? Yeah, so that's all I wanted to say.